Hello everyone, Nick the DM here, bringing another Planar Dragon from 3.5 to 5th edition. Our dragon for this video is the Howling Dragon, a terrifying dragon native to the Plane of Pandemonium. Howling dragons are long and slender, with short, thin legs and narrow wings. They have long spines behind their heads that form a frill and similar groupings of spines around their shoulders. A Howling dragon's scales are mottled purple and black, darkening as the dragon ages. The dragon's yellow eyes are feral-looking with small pupils. I find it funny that immediately beside this description of the dragon's yellow eyes is a picture depicting it with red eyes, and no matter what I looked at, I couldn't figure out a reason for this. I guess it was just artistic interpretation in the draconomicon, but yeah, as you can see in the picture here, the red eyes, despite it was described with yellow eyes. Howling dragons lair in isolated caverns amid the twisting tunnels of Pandemonium. A howling dragon that finds its way to the material plane will make its lair in similar terrain, often far underground, where they will roam widely in its new territory, exploring every narrow crevice and tunnel. Howling dragons feed on anything they can catch, living, undead, and even constructs. It's said they enjoy the sensation of biting into a still moving morsel. Now, what about where they come from? Pandemonium, also called the windswept depths of Pandemonium, is entirely made of stone, pierced by a seemingly infinite number of tunnels and caverns of varying sizes. Every open space in Pandemonium is filled with howling winds that carry every sound it picks up. Without protection from the noise, the wind carried enough power to render creatures temporarily deaf within seconds and permanently deaf over the matter of minutes. Due to the winds, normal fires could not be maintained and there was no natural light to be seen. So you couldn't light a fire to see further, and there was no natural light, meaning it was incredibly difficult to see if you did not have dark vision. Conversation was extremely difficult and could only be accomplished by shouting at close range due to the volume and velocity of these winds. There is much more to be said about Pandemonium, but this video is on the Howling Dragon, so I'll save that for a later video. Let's get to the stats I've made for the Howling Dragon for 5th edition. I'll be going over the Ancient Howling Dragon in this video, and I'll have a link in the description for the Wormling, Young, Adult, and Ancient stats. So without further ado, let's get on to the stats. Ancient Howling Dragon. Gargantuan Dragon, Chaotic Evil or Chaotic Neutral. Has an armor class of 22, that's natural armor. Hit points has 314 or 17 d20 plus 136. A speed of 40 feet and a fly speed of 80 as is normal, but I bet in Pandemonium this is going to be shortened because of difficult terrain or even an athletics check to be able to fly at all. Has a strength of 29, which is very high, especially among dragons. Dexterity of 10, Constitution of 27, Intelligence of 20, Wisdom of 16, and Charisma of 23. That's one thing that I find very interesting about this dragon, is that, and of course these are the stats I made, but I compared them, what I did is I took the 3.5 stats, compared them to like the red dragon and stuff from 3.5 as well, and then made these stats based on the comparison and the 5th edition stats for our other dragons. So that's one thing I noticed, is that the Howling Dragon has incredibly high intelligence and charisma. So despite how they sound, they're actually incredibly intelligent. Now, this is funny considering they speak no languages, which I'll get to later. Saving throws, they have proficiency in dexterity, constitution, wisdom, and charisma. They have expertise in perception and proficiency in stealth. They're immune to thunder damage, which I'm going to assume is the type of damage that would be dealt from the winds in Pandemonium that cause people to go deaf. I haven't read too much more on Pandemonium as of right now, just the bare necessities I needed to for the Howling Dragon. They have a blind sight out to 60 feet, dark vision of 120 feet, and a passive perception of 27. So, I mean, you're probably going to have a good time sneaking up on them if you're ever in Pandemonium, but otherwise, good luck. Now, they don't speak any languages, which I find odd, and they very specifically excluded that portion from the Draconomicon, because in the 3.5 Draconomicon, after after the description portion, they would always state like the such and such dragon speaks Draconic, Celestial, and like Common or something like that. For the Howling Dragon and one other dragon, which I will get to in a later video, they don't speak any languages apparently. Now this might be because the Howling Dragon has no need to speak, as it is in an area which speech is difficult, or maybe it's an evolutionary thing, but I have no clue as of right now. But that's all we have. Next up, we have the challenge rating is 21. Abilities, it has magic weapons, which make the dragon's weapon attacks magical. Legendary resistance 3 times per day. Innate spellcasting, which is charisma based. Spell save DC 21, plus 13 to hit with spell attacks, and can innately cast the following spells requiring no material components. 3 per day each, Tasha's Hideous Laughter and Wind Wall. And once per day each, Shatter, Gust of Wind, Confusion, Phantasmal Killer, and Whirlwind. Has a lot of spells, and this is even after I left out the spells that were exclusively from 3.5. Again, I haven't converted any 3.5 spells to 5th edition, and if I am to, that's going to be a different video, different segment, stuff like that. For actions, the Howling Dragon has a multi-attack, which, like most dragons, uses its Frightful Presence, then makes 3 attacks, 1 bite and 2 claws. For its bite, it is a plus 16 to hit, reach of 15 feet, and does 20 or 2d10 plus 9 piercing damage. Claw, plus 16 to hit, reach of 10 feet, does 16 or 2d6 plus 9 slashing damage, and Tail is a plus 16 to hit, reach of 20 feet, and does 18 or 2d8 plus 9 bludgeoning damage. For Frightful Presence, it has a range of 120 feet, and is a DC 21 Wisdom save, or anyone who fails it is frightened for 1 minute. Breath Weapon, it has 2, as the other Planar Dragons do. First one is its Howling Breath. The dragon emanates a thunderous roar in a 90-foot cone. Each creature in that area must make a DC 23 Constitution saving throw, taking 63 or 14d8 thunder damage on a failed save, or half as much on a successful one. Maddening Breath, this one's the cool one. The dragon releases maddening wails in a 90-foot cone. Each creature in that area must succeed on a DC 23 Wisdom saving throw, or have disadvantage on Wisdom-based attack rolls, Wisdom checks, and Wisdom saving throws for 1 minute. A creature can repeat the saving throw at the end of each of its turns, ending the effect on itself on a success. Now, this ties in very well with a lot of the Wisdom saves spells that the Howling Dragon has. But another interesting thing is I'm fairly certain it's not just because it's a breath weapon, but it's a combination of, because these are both sound-based things, the Howling Breath being a roar and the Maddening Breath being wailing sound, and the combination of that and being in Pandemonium, where it was difficult to actually converse. But in the Draconomicon, it does state that both breath weapons for the Howling Dragon is reduced to 10-foot cones whenever they are exposed to the winds of Pandemonium. So anyone on the material plane who's experiencing this will still get the 90-foot cone. If you're on Pandemonium, it will be shrunk to a 10-foot cone, which is drastically shorter, but I guess that makes sense considering the sound. Now, I'm not 100% sure if this would apply to other dragons' breath weapons, like fire, lightning, thunder, or clearly not thunder, but fire, lightning, and like acid and stuff like that. I imagine it might. But I know for certain, because these are sound-based ones, it mentions that in the Draconomicon that these are reduced to 10-foot cones, which I find really interesting, and I'm glad they included something like that. Next is, and lastly, it has its legendary actions, which are the Detect action, makes a perception check, the Tail attack, which the dragon makes a tail attack, and the Wing attack, costing 2 actions. The dragon beats its wings. Each creature within 15 feet of the dragon must succeed on a DC 24 Dexterity saving throw, or take 16 2d6 plus 9 bludgeoning damage, and be knocked prone. The dragon then can fly up to half its flying speed, which I'm pretty sure again would be reduced to then a quarter, because seemingly flying in Pandemonium would be difficult. But that is all I have for the Howling Dragon. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe for more content like this. I really like making the Planar Dragons and I have a lot more of them to do. Surprisingly enough, the game called Dungeons & Dragons has an absolute ton of dragons from earlier editions. Like, you might think 5th edition has a lot of dragons. It has nothing compared to earlier editions. There are so many of them. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye!